Hey, Carson,
Hey, Kevin.
anybody sending us letters?
No.
They don't love us or they don't,
They it's they hate us.
they hate us.
Yeah.
Wow. A couple episodes ago, we asked if anybody has any questions or comments, whatever, to send them. We have
Oh,
a fair amount,
we
but
have a few letters. I'm
a
just
few. But our finale, our last episode will be us answering, responding, because I like it to feel sometimes like like a dialogue or a conversation. Somebody says
yeah.
something to us, and we say something back. But it starts with us saying something with the podcast. So then we would love it if you would say something back, and then in our episode, we could respond to you responding to us. But people aren't writing, and I think it's because we're so good at what we do. We communicate it so clearly
Why would you
that
need to
they
ask
don't
a
need to
question?
what,
Yeah.
right?
No, we have a couple letters, but we'd like actually two out of the few letters are kind of similar. So I want to have a more diverse array of questions. So please write to us, Meisner podcast at gmail.com. You can send us a DM on Instagram at Meisner podcast and ask anything. I mean, tell us if you disagree with us, anything. It's all fair game. We're totally interested, not only so that Kevin can answer your question, but also so that we know what's sticking, what's not sticking, so that we can shape season three and beyond. To say
Yeah, we've had a few letters like that, or we've had a few letters like that where they're like, I heard what you said and I understand it, but I can't wrap my head around X part of it or whatever.
right.
And we've responded, so. All right, so they got about 2 weeks before we
Yep.
record our last one. Okay. Meanwhile, today's episode, very exciting. We talked to Petey McGee, um, a former student of mine at Rutgers, a current member of our 1-1 project that we Carson and I work in and will. Um, but also he's been out there quite a bit doing work, and we talked to him about around an array of topics. Right, we cover a lot of ground with him, so it's really great that he's here. So stay tuned for our conversation with Petey McGee. Should not be acting training, it should be actor training.
Am I a good actor?
Like me doing. It's not a Meisner podcast.
There it is.
Hi, Petey.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Petey and Carson know each other. We're all in that company that we talk about sometimes, the 1-1 project. Petey is a recent attendee. Yeah. Boy, did Petey take to that work. That's part of what I want to talk about, Petey. Like, well, you know how Michael Chekhov talks about the four brothers, right? A sense of truth and a sense of beauty and a sense of the whole thing and a sense of ease. And he always says a sense of ease is the last to come. Leonard Petit used to say to us, a sense of ease, boy, it takes a long time to do all your work, but it just kind of flows through you. Petey, you have that. Unbelievable, you have that sense of ease. And the funny thing about a sense of ease, though, is like you can't try to have a sense of ease. That's the opposite.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about it later. But Petey McGee is with us. He's extremely talented, multi-talented guy, a poet and a rapper and a producer of film, a director of film, an actor, film and theater. Petey, I've been asking every time we have a guest on, I ask them how the hell they got here. Like, how do you get to being the actor that you are? We had Danielle Liccardo on recently, and I said, how do you get from the suburbs of Jersey to being at the top of your, profession, pedagogy in terms of teaching and also acting? I said to Barbara Marchand, how do you get from being a young college student in the late 60s out on the Pacific Northwest, and now here you are, like, in my opinion, the best teacher of Meisner, you did not come from a suburb, did you?
I did not. Not at all.
Not at all. Can you talk a little bit about partly what we like to do is let young people hear you can come from anywhere
Yeah.
and be, so I know a little bit of your coming up as a young person, but will you talk about that?
Absolutely. It has been a long journey to get to where I am now. And it is a blessing because I don't growing up I didn't see a lot of people like me who were in this profession. I was just having this conversation recently. I didn't even know it was something that I could do. So I kind of started my acting career a lot later than a lot of my friends, like when I went to undergrad. So I started acting when I went to undergrad and I was like 23.
Wow.
And I went to University of Missouri, UMKC, and got my undergrad. And because I was so behind, or I felt like I was so behind everyone else, I like took to the work. Like I read every book. I started with August Wilson, of course. I had a teacher tell me, I didn't know who August Wilson was, but I had a professor look into August Wilson. I read all 10 plays. I started studying monologues from August Wilson. Um, but which was easier, I took to August Wilson so well because I was a poet and a rapper. And August Wilson, like his words are like poetry. So it was easy for me to get in. But yeah, I read every book I could about acting, about everything, just so I could catch up and be in the conversation. I'm that person, like I like to be in the conversation. I feel like it just like it really gets to me when I'm like sitting there listening and they're talking about all these playwrights and all these plays and and different techniques and all that. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know, look at him, they talking about. So I'm like taking notes. I go back, Google, read everything. But anyways, so back to my start. So I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, back and forth. I grew up back and forth from Kansas City, Missouri to New Jersey, kind of all around New Jersey. Um, I grew up pretty much in the projects where I grew up. It was like you either like you rapped or you play basketball, um, or you went and got like a warehouse job or a job that's gonna make you some good money. Or you didn't do any of that and you stayed in the streets, which a lot of my homies, a lot of the guys I grew up with, I'll probably say more than not, are gone. They're either in jail or dead now. And a lot of my family members too. But I always, even when I was younger, I craved something different than the things I saw. And when I was very young, I was always the strange one, the weird kid. Um, but that didn't bother me any. I always like I kind of found my niche in having my own lane, and I became popular when I was young because I was so different, and I wasn't afraid to be different and to be me. And of course, I had a lot of uh, trying to assimilate also, but I experienced and back in my day doing some things I shouldn't have been doing. But it wasn't until honestly when I found acting, it was the most I had ever felt me in my entire life, which is why I'm one of those people. They say, what's the saying? A jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
I was one of those people because I pretty much was good at most things that I tried. So I had, even before I started acting, I had so many different career shifts, and acting was the first thing that I got and I stuck with. Because I had been to college before even and dropped out, and I had done all kind of things. I was like, when I first started acting, I was working for 24-hour fitness, and that was at the time where I was like, this is gonna be my life. I'm gonna own a gym. I managed my own gym, and I was like, I've always been very competitive, so I'm like, yeah, I got the top numbers in the district. I'm gonna go straight to the top of corporate, and this is gonna be the rest of my life. And then my mom died, and it threw everything in a loop. And somehow through that, I kind of found acting. And it was something
The corporate world lost a great possibility there.
that, for sure, that cliche thing of like, I say I didn't find acting, it kind of found me, which
Oh yeah.
I more than anything else, because it's hard when you're good at everything to like pick one thing to do. And acting was also the first thing that I didn't really feel like I was the best at. Everything I did, I was like, I'm the best at this. Acting, I feel like it's so subjective and there's only so much more to learn. And it has to do a lot with experience in life and learning more about yourself. I'm like, this is a journey that I could be on forever, and it'll never get old. You know?
Yeah. You know, it's funny is I almost missed out on you when you came to audition to be in the MFA program at Rutgers. We did not accept you the first year. And I look back on that now and I'm like, Jesus, I dodged a bullet. Imagine if we didn't get Petey McGee. But what was weird was I couldn't figure you out. So that's a shame because it shouldn't be my job to figure you out. But you came and visited.
I can be a very mysterious person. A lot of people
Yeah.
say so because I'm very reserved and very quiet most of the time. Until you get to know me, then it's like this guy won't shut up.
Yeah.
But I spend so much time observing because I always am trying to find my place in any environment that I'm in. I'm I'm a chameleon, so I'm like, let me observe first. Give me a couple weeks to like see the layout and see the structure of this setting that I'm in. I can get really in my head a bunch, and then I'm like, all right, okay, I see how this works now. I see where I fit. All right, now,
Yeah.
but for that, like I'm usually, I don't talk a bunch, and also I don't believe in talking just to talk. Like a lot of times, I feel like people just want to talk, and I'm like, yeah, if I don't have anything to say, I don't want to necessarily make up something to say just for the sake of like saying it. I feel like I
Yeah.
do a lot more of that now, which does lead me to discoveries and new things. But Rutgers taught me that because I didn't before Rutgers. I remember, I don't know if you remember, but like first semester, I got called in by all the professors. And that was my note. My biggest note by all the professors were like, yeah, we think that you're very talented, but like you don't say anything ever in class. You just kind of sit in the back and hang out. We need you to participate more. And I was always like, yeah, I don't really have questions or have anything to say. So, and I remember Christopher Cartmill being like, well, just say something, say anything. And I was like, yep, I don't, that's like, even when I do have questions, I don't want to sound dumb. So I don't,
Yeah.
so I sit back and I observe. And Christopher taught me that I should write my questions down. And that's when I first started speaking a lot more in class because I would have to write all my thoughts down in order. So when I asked a question, I could like, put it together instead of like trying to figure out the question as I'm asking it, which
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, there's a lot of lessons in that, what you just said. Like one is for the person to uh try to be more front foot, be present. Um, and the other is for the people on the other side of it to just like maybe that person doesn't talk just to talk, or maybe they've got a really rich inner life, you know. The first time you auditioned for us, when you visited class, you did exactly what you said, sat in the back, but you were inscrutable. I couldn't tell from your I'm like, I can't tell if he's engaged. Is he going to be able to commit to what we're doing? Does he know what we're doing? And we passed on you. And then later I was like, I hope that guy comes back. I really was like, shit, if I don't see him next year, I fucked up. And then you came back and I'm like, now I know he wants to because he came back.
yeah, because I was heartbroken. Let's talk about it. I was heartbroken.
You were, huh?
Year I came and I didn't get in. I remember because I think I couldn't come to callback weekend because I was in a play. I was doing a play.
Oh,
Joshua Brody, who directed at Rutgers. I was doing Medea with Josh, and he wrote Christopher this long email, beautiful email that I even was like, "Who are you talking about me in that?" Because, but like so, me and Christopher ended up. I linked up with Christopher that first year, and I remember talking to Barbara at my exit interview, and she was like, "Yeah, this is where you want to be." She's like, "This is the place for you." And I was like, "Yeah, I got an audition at DePaul and a couple other schools." And I remember that I didn't get into any other school, I think except DePaul, and I didn't go because I was like, "I'm waiting on Rutgers. I'm waiting on Rutgers." And then once I didn't get into Rutgers, I was like, I'm trying again next year.
oh my God. I'm so glad you did.
And I saw you. I came to a job interview and it changed my life. I was like, I need to be doing. Everybody seems so free and so open in the way they had access to those emotions and those different, like, my mind was blown and I was like, I need something to break me open like that because I'm so reserved and I know that about myself. I was like, this is the technique that's going to pull me out of that and it's going to push me. So I have to be.
Yeah. And then we didn't accept you.
Oh, that's what I think. I came back that next year, and that next year I got into a bunch of schools, a bunch of top schools, and I didn't care because I already knew. I was like, I'm going to Rutgers, and I think that's what
Oh,
I got into those schools too, because through my audition process, I didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna audition just to audition for these schools. Like the only one that I will go to over Rutgers is if I get into Yale because it's free. But
right.
that I'm going to Rutgers. Suffice to
No,
say.
that, well, yeah, thank God, because man, oh man, you are one of the top actors that I know and have worked with. So, man, I almost missed out on that.
Well, and what a
Um,
valuable lesson for young actors listening or about to go into that college audition process. You know, that teachers have so much to offer, but that task of auditioning, you can speak to this, Kevin, but auditioning 1,000 actors and picking a limited number is nearly impossible. And you got to have fortitude, and it doesn't say anything about your artistry if you don't get in the first pass, you know.
yeah,
So that would have been a
yes,
mistake, Kevin, to not take PD, like you said. So
it was a mistake to not take him the first time, but there was no doubt.
I don't think it was a mistake either though, because I look at that company that was there the year I would have come in, and the company that I came out with, I think was a lot better fit than that company before. So
interesting.
I always said like, well, it happened the way it was supposed to happen because I don't know how well I would have fit with the company. But I mean, you know, I would have made anything work, but I felt like it was a better fit in the company. In being with.
Well, that's really interesting. It's not just about you as an individual; it's about you in a cohort. You know, and yeah, your company was a great company, and you all fit together really well and did some great work. Um, but you know what else, Carson? Another lesson for me, anyway, is when PD said, "Yeah, I auditioned and got into everywhere because I auditioned like I didn't give a shit."
Right.
And maybe that's where that's that. I always think of you, PD, as having confidence. You know, and I think, do you have confidence because you know you've done the work, so you're free to let it go? And then that's where that ease comes from, I think. You know, I guess I don't now I risk putting you in your head. Like, do you have anxiety but know what to do about it? Or do you just not have anxiety?
So that was what I learned in that
Interesting.
audition process, actually. I learned so much during that whole time of going in, auditioning for school, and then first year at Rutgers, especially. But I learned so much during that time. But the audition process told me like I got to get out of my own way. That first year of auditioning, I had all these like mentors and coaches telling me how to do it and what I should do and how I should dress even, and what pieces are gonna work and all this stuff. And it got me. I had just nerves and all nerves. And I'm not usually a person that works from a place of nerves. But that year I was so like, oh my God, I have to get it right. I have to do this piece. I have to. And then that next year I said, forget all of that. And I picked different pieces because I did pieces that I wanted to do that spoke to me, and I dressed the way I wanted to dress. I did everything. I was like, I'm just gonna do me. Like I've always been successful doing me. So I'm gonna do me. And that's a lesson I take in life that like, you know, a lot of young actors ask me when they're doing auditions and you know, doing takes and in plays and in rehearsals. And I always tell them like, well, you're the only one that can do you the way you do you. So more than anything, let you show in whatever you're doing, because you know that's why someone will pick you. They'll be like, that was something different, and that something different is you're the different thing, you know.
100%. Speaking as a director, 100%. I always have to tell actors, I'm not casting the role, I'm casting the actor.
Yeah.
So isn't it nuts that you might, quote unquote, fail because you were trying to be something you think they want you to be? Why would you want to fail at that? If you are 100% you, um, open, available, vulnerable, authentic, and they don't take you, it's nothing about you. But if you try to be what you think they want and they don't take you, that means you failed at being fake,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, if you're gonna fail, you might as well fail at being yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
By the way,
That's
you
what I'm
bet.
learning with these self tapes, yo.
Oh,
That is the only time I get anxious, man. Do it self tape is so it's so strange sitting in front of a camera in a room with one person behind the camera, and I find myself getting caught in that trap and having to remind myself, like, man, why am I like? I start like being the character and not like letting the character be me. If that,
Yeah, no, yes, I know exactly what you mean by that. And that is true. You find yourself acting at something, or again, like I said before, you're trying to give them what you think they want. But if you're going to do a self tape, you might as well find your way in from your personal self, put it out there and go, there it is. You know, people often say, actors often say, you might have had this experience, Petey, that you forgot that you auditioned for a thing. And then your manager, your agent calls and goes, hey, remember that? You booked it. You're like, I forgot. Like the best thing you could do is like care about it as you're prepping for it, then do it with all of your commitment and investment, and then move on to the next thing.
yeah, that was
You
me.
know,
That was how I booked the show that I did for a couple years when I was on Power. It was an audition that I had done and forgot that I even did it. And I got a call like a month or two later from my manager it was that exact conversation. Like, remember you auditioned for that show? I was like, yeah. I was in the Florida airport and she's like, you got it. And I was like, what, wait, what? What are you saying?
or
And
that's a major show for, the funny thing is, I think many people will know PD from Power Book 2,
yeah.
Ghost.
Yes. I get recognized a bunch on the streets when I'm walking down the streets and stuff from the show.
Well, you and I I directed you in a film once, and we were just standing outside in Queens or Brooklyn or something. We're outside the studio, and every person that walked by was like, "Ah," like they all knew you. And I'm like, oh, Pete, is this the thing, Pete?
Yeah.
And then you and I made that film, and we went down to Miami for a festival, and the same thing happened down there. People, they knew you, and they know you.
Super popular show. But yeah, that was what happened with that show. I kind of did the audition, but that was the difference. Like when I booked that show, I was probably doing like 5 or 6 auditions a week. So it was very easy to do the auditions and forget about them, to not care, not be so precious. And I think that's what it is now. Like, ever since the strike and everything, that like the industry is just not the same at all anymore. And so auditions, I feel like I treat them like they're so precious when they're not. It's another chance to work. And I always remind myself that after I've done the audition, and I'm like, yep, I blew that when I wanted it too bad. You can't want it too bad. But
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
So there's our art form is filled with paradox and dichotomy. And one of the main ones is like you just said, oh, I didn't get that because I wanted it too much. That's nuts. You're supposed to want something, but sometimes wanting it can be the reason why you didn't get it, because, we say, but what's the last thing an actor says before they step on stage? They say, fuck it. Like, that sounds funny, but it really works.
Absolutely.
And so if you could do that with a self tape, you did it, prepare, forget about it.
Yep. I'm into this new thing with my self tapes. I saw this guy who was talking about a fuck it take, which we all know what a fuck it take is, right? But the way that this guy does the fuck it take, which I think is really interesting, and I think it's been helping me out a lot. So the way he does it is he'll do a bunch of takes, and then he's like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna do a fuck it take, and it'll be no rules, no restrictions, no anything, just go as crazy as you want. And you do this fuck it take and you watch it, and it's like the greatest take of all the takes that you've done.
Of course.
And then you delete it.
And then you delete it.
Do another one.
Wow.
Do another one.
Interesting.
And what it does is the next one you do might not even be as good in your mind as your fuck it take, but it's gonna get you closer to like where that character is. And I think it's been really eye-opening trying that, because it's so hard when you're like, what? I gotta delete this one, I gotta delete it. But I delete it and I'm like, all right, let me do another one.
Wow.
That's really good.
I'm so interested in that because I'm always interested in where kind of acting pedagogy or acting talk from different Meisner or Strasberg or Adler or Chekhov, whatever, where they kind of meet and they just have different words. Because that sounds to me like Chekhov's life body. Like you're doing the big thing, and then you let go of that, and then that happened. It's still there, you know. You're still that exists there, just maybe not physically, but the energy's there. And that's
It
fast.
resonates. It
Yeah.
resonates.
Absolutely.
Not exactly that, but it's a bit.
No, that is very interesting. That you do a version of it with no concern about whether you're hitting correct beats or moments or anything, and then get rid of it. And now it's in you.
Mhm.
The fuck it is in you. And then you do another one. And maybe it's closer to adhering to certain things that have to happen, like story or character or whatever. That's really interesting. Well, so speaking of acting, bringing your acting technique to your work, can you talk a little bit about that once you got into Rutgers and then actually had to do the work? Was there any struggle for you with the Meisner technique? Did you have to adjust? Did you have, what was the?
You mean like as far as like when I first started learning the technique?
Yeah, did you come up against anything like I can't do this or I love it right away? And you know.
Absolutely. Like first year was brutal for me. First year was so hard because it was so like it was just like gut wrenching and emotional, and I was raw and like I went from like never crying ever, having like being always pretty reserved with my emotions. Like I never I don't think like it could be like the worst thing happen and I'll be like, yeah, that's fucked up. And like I went to Rutgers and like a squirrel will get ran over and I'm in tears.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, of course.
I'd be like, what is wrong with me? Why am I so emotional all the time? There's a person I never cried when I watch movies. After first year, I couldn't even watch movies anymore because every little thing made me emotional. And I'm like, this is not even an emotional part. Like, I don't know. but
you're vulnerable. It's because listen, when you said I never would cry at anything, part of me feels like, well, because growing up, there were enough things happening. You had to maybe shut it down a little bit and put your armor up, So you weren't getting more. You were letting go of the things that were getting in the way of,
Yeah, so it was tough that first year. And second year that's when I started feeling like I was in my groove because I was like, this I'm familiar with, after, I did undergrad. So like second year felt like a lot of the things from undergrad kind of coming back where I can like apply the technique. And it was actually really freeing going from first year into second year because having all that, now having the access to that freedom, that vulnerability, those emotions, and being able to put it into form, which second year was more about like, all right, how do we take all this stuff and put it into form? And it was a beautiful thing that I seen unfolding within myself that second year when you start learning all these different techniques. Like even like I found so many different ways in like patterning was like my thing for a while. And I was like, even after we graduated, that was like my way into a lot of characters. Like I would use patterning. And then even what we did with the paraphrasing of what's the
Spoon Rivers.
Spoon Rivers, yeah.
Paraphrase.
Like I would do that with a lot of my texts, and like so it was very helpful to me being able to go from that first year to second year, and
yeah,
because like now when I do shows, and I think it's because I'm doing TV, and if I'm being honest, like the writing is just not as good. It's not a ton to work with a lot of times. So like I kind of, which is not a good excuse. But I think I do use it as an excuse and I slack off and I don't do the work. And I go in because I'm like, oh, this is easy. Like these words, I don't have to do much. So I don't need to use any technique to get into this thing. Like, it's right here,
Well, sometimes that's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look at it and go, I'm just going to let myself come from myself. But sometimes sometimes I get a little mad at my former students when they tell me a certain thing like, well, the writing's not good and the people are dicks. I said, you're judging the material.
Yep.
And if you judge the material, then you might not invest in it. And if you do invest in it, you're going to find more than maybe the material is C grade instead of A plus, but you're going to make it B plus because of what you bring to it,
I did that. My first few episodes working on the show, working on Power. I spent so much time judging the work and judging my character and being like, nobody talks like this.
Yeah.
Like doing all that stuff instead of like loving this character and falling in love with it as it is on the page and bringing myself to it. And I think I started learning that once I, got further. And, you learn a lot of tricks of the trade when you are on a show for a period of time. And you learn also how to make a character your own and how to switch up little things. Cause what I learned is also like you got to really own your character. Because when you're doing a character for a couple years, few years, like that character better than anyone else, and especially like these writers and directors, even the character better than them because we got different writers and directors for every episode.
That's right.
I had to take ownership of that character, and like when you do that, you start adding little things, changing things up, and one of the things I start seeing is like you do the table read. And in a table read, you make it your own. Switch up those lines a little bit. You make it more yourself. Make it more how you see the character because this character. And then when you get there, first day of shooting, they have added all the things you said in the table read to the script.
That's amazing. But they don't pay you as a writer.
No, not at all.
But that is true, and I've done that with actors on set. We'll do a take 1, take 2, take 3, and then I'll say to them, how do you want to say this? Right. And I'm a big lover of writers, man. I'm a big defender of writers. In theater, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Word perfect in theater.
It's hard. It's hard because I came from the theater.
Yeah.
I used to think that there's so much freedom in form. Like in form. I love Shakespeare so much because it really is about your craft. It's about the acting and what you do, the subtext. It's you really have to convey these words that some people might not understand what you're saying. And I like Shakespeare I love Shakespeare. So like coming from that place where it's like, no, the words are so important. Like that's what you have is the words. And it's your job to convey this feeling or get your objective or whatever through these words as they are on the page. And then I got to TV and everybody, like it was somebody else, another actor who told me like, nah, you just got to switch up the lines and like make it sound natural. And I was like,
I know. No, I know. It's pretty common. Well, I've told this story already because, Rhett Rossi, who is our friend and a great writer, because he and I work so closely, I'm very, very aware of how important it is for the actor to find in the text what the writer is telling you rather than, I don't see it, so I'm going to change it around. No, just because you don't see it, you have to find your way into it. But I think I told this once before, right, Carson, that Rhett told me that he had written an episode of a show. He was in the writer's room, and one of the episodes was his entirely. But by the time it aired, it had gone through so many different things that somebody said to him, "Oh, I saw your episode. It was so good." And he said, "I'll tell the writer when I see him." He was like, "It wasn't mine."
Yep.
So I suppose that's just
plays are usually written better though in general. Then TV is not a lot of time. TV is not all shows, but there are a lot of shows where it's not necessarily about the writing. It's about the action or the drama that's happening, or the like it's they don't care as much about the words. That's why they're not so precious with them. But it's good writing, usually compared to TV, at least, from what I've seen. And I'm not
absolutely
any of the writers who have written on the shows I'm on and stuff like it's
no. By the way, most of them are playwrights anyway, so they know.
Right.
They come to the writer's room from being playwrights. They know that their plays are the language is first and foremost, But I'm sure they also know that once an actor, like you said, an actor impulsively will, just speak something, it comes out of their mouth. And like you said, people will write it down and it's made its way into the script because it somehow seems more authentic because the person who takes ownership of the character, they're doing it impulsively. Are you going to say something, Carson? You were going to say
the playwright is one person, right? TV, there's so many people. Film often it's just one or two people, but there's something to be said for that when every character is one person's voice, which makes sense why there's so much more value or reverence for not changing those words,
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
with that.
So, Petey, did you love Shakespeare before you knew there was? Did you always knew Shakespeare, or you like find Shakespeare and go, I love Shakespeare before I knew there was a Shakespeare. I'd never read this before, but it speaks to me.
I hated Shakespeare when I
Uh,
first was in undergrad. We had to take Shakespeare third year, and I already knew first year that third year we had to take Shakespeare, and I was dreading it from first year. I was like, ah, man, I really don't want to do Shakespeare in third year. This is like into my first year. I was like, I do not want to do that. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know why people doing this old shit. Like, it don't make sense. Like, I had so many, but I had a professor, Scott Stackhouse. Shout out to him. And he really he put Shakespeare out there in a way that I can understand it, and that made it palatable for me. And more than that, he made it relatable to life, to every situation, everything that is happening in life can be related to some Shakespeare somewhere. And once I found that, and as a poet, and I started finding the poetry of Shakespeare, that's what
yeah.
oh, what was that? What? Like, where has this been all my life? Like, I had no clue that this is. And once I like found out about the iambic pentameter, which I didn't, I just thought it was a bunch of old English words at first, and like, but like once I learned it, I was like, man, the skill it has to take to write in form and make it make sense, and say all these things and have all this subtext and conquer all these big topics. I was like, man, Shakespeare's a genius. He's a
A
genius.
genius. But I find that so funny because you love language. You're a poet and a rapper. And when I listen to your stuff, all it's follows the the legacy of Shakespeare and any other dramatic poet. You know,
That's what I was
you
told.
have
When we were at the Globe, I was told that a lot of professors were told thought that I took to the language so well of because I was a poet and I did music, and they were saying like I have like kind of a natural rhythm anyway to the way I speak, and Shakespeare has a like kind of a natural rhythm, so it was easy for me
yeah
to stick to it.
yeah you have an ear for it. I think some of your short films that you've made, uh, they're not dramatic dialogue, they're poetry. It's you speaking poetry or rapping or whatever, and they're very, very powerful. You know, you have that film called Skin Deep,
Yeah,
which is heartbreaking. It's really powerful, but it's all kind of spoken word. It's got a flow to it that's not kitchen sink.
yeah, that's all spoken word, and I wrote that one day before we filmed it. I wrote that one day
Oh,
before we filmed it because and it was long too. And it was funny how that came about. I was gonna do Marcus Garley had like a monologue, but I don't remember the original monologue now. But something about black people, the way black people were treated in this country. And I was studying this monologue because I was just gonna film it as just like something to put up online, and part of a reel or something. I just wanted to film myself doing a monologue. And I ran into one of my high school friends who's like a very successful musician and rapper. And he was like, yo, we should do it together. He was like, we should make a film out of it, and you could do the monologue, and we'll like make this whole thing, and we'll put my music in the background. And I was like, dope, let's do it. And then I was on the phone with him the day before we were filming because I was directing it, right? So I came out with like a shot list. I came with this long write up for the DP that I sent him that was like 5 pages. Lucas, actually, that I
Lucas.
like five. That was when I first met Lucas, actually. It was like 5 pages long, sent that because I wanted to do it all as a one shot. I was very ambitious with that was my first time directing anything. But like, so I was just like really hyped and ready to go. And I was talking to my homeboy, and I was like, yeah, so I'm ready tomorrow. And I asked him, I was like, you're not worried about like copyright or anything? I was like, I don't really know how that works. Cause like, he was like, copyright. I was like, yeah, with the monologue. And he was like, you didn't write that? And I was like, monologue, bro. You don't know how monologues work? Like, I got it from a play, and I was gonna post it. I told you that. When he was like, oh, bro, you gonna have to write your own. And I was like, by tomorrow? He's like, you could do it, bro. I have faith in you. You could do it. So literally that night, I wrote my own spoken word, and we filmed it. I had to like resend everything to all the production team, and we filmed it that next day.
Yeah, but it was very personal. You found it had great meaning to you. Can
Absolutely.
people see it? Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, yeah. It's on YouTube. Petey McGee, Skin Deep.
Skin deep.
I'll put it in the description of the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Well, if that's the case, then we should look at other things like closed minded and
Yeah.
hey, you shoot videos? Can people see that?
yeah. It's on Vimeo. If you Google "you shoot videos" with a U, not YOU, but just the letter U, "you shoot videos," it'll pop up. It's on Vimeo, so
Yeah. Again, it's funny, Petey, that I haven't seen you in the main thing you've done. I never saw a frame of power.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. But all these other little projects you've done that are fucking extraordinary. I've seen them all.
Yeah.
I tend to just gravitate more toward the stuff if a former student of mine is doing a play in a little 60-seat theater or whatever, I'm there, you know.
I want to be doing real.
And when they're in a film that you can just watch, I never see them. Yeah, you want to be doing a play. You haven't done a play in a while, have you?
I haven't done a play in a while. Last time I did a play a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I did a Skeleton Crew back home in Kansas City.
What a great play.
Yeah, it was a good one. I've been wanting to do that play for so long. So it was really beautiful that I finally got the chance, and I got to go back home to do it. So it was really nice. It was one of those plays that I looked up after I graduated. You know, I had like a list of plays that I wanted to do. So like first, right upon graduating, I was like, I'm gonna just keep Googling these same plays every day to see what theaters around the US are doing them. And if somebody's doing it, I'm gonna audition for it in whatever city it's in. And then, COVID happened and, kind of messed up all of that. But then, a few years later, I got a chance to do Skeleton Crew. So
it's a great play.
Stella did a scene of that in Billy's class, actually.
Oh yeah.
And
Billy Carden.
Yeah, Billy Carden. And ever since then, that's when I was like, I have to do this play.
Is she one of your favorite writers? Who's your favorite playwright?
Well, after August Wilson, Shakespeare.
August Wilson, Shakespeare.
Yeah, Shakespeare after August Wilson.
August Wilson would love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, August Wilson people say it all the time, but I do believe he is the American Shakespeare.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. But I like a lot of like, I do like Dominique. I do like I'm trying to think who would be my favorite. I say August Wilson because he has multiple plays that I like. Oh my gosh, Motherfucker with the Hat.
Georges.
Yes. Love his writing. Just Hop the A Train, like love his writing.
Yeah, we spoke with him. I don't know if you know, Petey, but Georges did what you're doing right now. He spoke with us on our podcast, and he was really great, really great. I remember you did Motherfucker with the Hat.
Yeah.
You did a lot of language at Rutgers, right? Didn't you do a play? Was it the rehearsal or one of those plays that you did that?
Yeah.
Language plays, and then you did Motherfucker with the Hat, which is a language play also when you think about it.
Yeah. Almost didn't do Motherfucker with the Hat. I had to fight to get that.
Really?
Yeah. It was because I was cast originally. I wasn't cast in Motherfucker with the Hat. I was cast in we did it. I think Antigone was the other play we were doing with Motherfucker.
Okay.
And I made a big fuss about how I didn't get to, like, at my time at Rutgers, I never got to do any Black or color like plays of culture.
Sure.
I'm the Black person in our whole company that has not gotten a chance to do anything Black, because even the other play had all the Black people in it except for me, because I did the play with Canute, which was beautiful. I love Canute. I just
Canute Adams.
Just had a canal. That's hilarious. A callback with him earlier.
Oh, cool.
Right before I hopped on his Zoom. He's directing Primary Trust again, because he did it off Broadway.
Right. Wow, I didn't remember that. I was gone by then. I had left Rutgers when you were doing Motherfucker with the Hat. I wasn't there. But that's so interesting. But it's also great that you advocated for yourself.
It was a lot of it was, one of my good friends, Lazarus. Laz was he was pushing me to be like, no, like you need to say something, and we're gonna say something together. And like Laz
Good job.
drafted this letter that we sent out, and he was like, you know, on the letter speaking as me and him and being like, yo, this is how we feel. You get cast and motherfucker with the hat. And then what ended up happening is I got cast and then Laz got dropped from motherfucker with the hat.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yep. Yep.
Lazarus Shivens, we love you.
Yep.
We
And it was
hope you
because he
listen.
didn't want to do Antigone. And they were trying to switch him to Antigone, but he was so anti-Antigone and he didn't want to work with the director, I believe, too. So he set out and didn't, and I think he did like a personal project.
Wow. I didn't know you. This is a lot of good backstage gossip we're getting here. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
Lazarus Shivens, man. You two. Hey, you know what I remember? You are an example of how you could be deeply immersed in something and at the same time know your own limits and advocate for yourself. You and Lazarus were partners. So these were two very, very powerful Black men for powerful in different ways, but really emotionally deep and open and vulnerable. Is gorgeous. And you were doing probably an activity that was very, very raw in terms of uh, the lack of safety, let's say, for the average Black man in America at that time, especially. So you were already raw with that. And when he came in, somehow the two of you got, I think we had dropped repetition by that point. I think you two were just in deep contact. And it started to get deep and deep and deep. And I was watching it with like, do I stop them? But part of me was like, nope, this is good for them to do this in the imaginary world. But you said to him at one point, I think I'm finished. I'm done now to him. And I thought, he's talking to me. Like somehow I knew you were saying to me, you could stop this now.
Yep. And I absolutely
And the second I heard you say to Lazarus, I think I'm done now. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm done doing this. I was like, okay, we're gonna stop.
Yep. I
I heard you talking to me.
I didn't look at you or anything. I'm still talking to Laz, and I remember it. I said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Can't.
And then I was like,
anymore.
stop.
Yep.
I was like, stop. But think about that. You may have not, quote unquote, wanted to do it before that you stopped. And yet something in you was like, but there's still more. And then you knew your own zone, right? The difference between the comfort zone and the safety zone. So you were uncomfortable, but still safe. But then you hit right up against it and went, if I keep going, it's going to be unsafe. And you were like, stop, we're stopping. I wish more acting students understood that.
Yeah, that's a tough thing, especially with Meisner. You know, everybody thinks Meisner is about letting go and punching walls, and which you know, I've done my share of that. I've like fractured my hand punching a wall, you know, but also we think it's about breaking chairs and throwing stuff and, you know, being like, we think that's what it's about. And, you know, we all would have thought that if it wasn't for the great Kevin Kittle being like, stop it. What are you doing? Like,
what makes you think that is acting? Well, somebody told me from the previous class. I'm like, they didn't tell you that I told the previous class to stop it?
Yeah. And you taught me that was a beautiful thing I learned too, though. You taught me it was about taking all that same emotion, all those same things that are happening inside me and channeling them through action or through my words or through my intentions instead of through a wall with my fist, you know?
Yeah. Well, I used to say to my students, if you punch a wall in the imaginary world, you will break your hand in real life.
Yep. Yep.
But you know, adrenaline gets going sometimes. Someone will kick a door and be like, I'm okay. And then the next day they're on crutches. I'm like, yeah, because of the adrenaline, you didn't feel it. Don't kick the wall. What were you going to say, Carson?
I'm just really impressed listening to this as kind of through the frame of a student listening to a podcast about acting. Really impressed with the agency you have of your artistry, you know. And maybe that's because you didn't go right from high school to Meisner training. You know, you had some years there to kind of figure your own stuff out. But I think that what that speaks to is not, I think the word agency gets thrown around in modern society with kind of the connotation of maybe being stubborn or not being open to taking a risk. Sometimes it does. And what to me that's impressive is that it's actually what you're really good at is application. Like you're synthesizing what you're being taught and you're understanding the why of applying it to your technique or to your own lifestyle. And because you understand that, then you know, okay, wait, this is too far. Shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do this play. I should do this one. And that's such a valuable skill that I think a lot of people graduating high school, going into an undergraduate program, or people going to a graduate program, they're like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. And I'm not even worried about the application of it. I just want to say yes to you and please you, you know? And that's such a great thing for an artist to have.
Absolutely. And there's a fine line, you know, because that was what the underclass or undergraduates, the BFAs, because our companies were mixed MFA and BFA. And that was one of the things I used to talk to them about a lot. And I used to say, like, yeah, you can't just, like, I think, because they used to always say, like, well, the professors love you. You get to do everything. I was like, well, that was because I don't do what I think the professors want me to do. Like, I do what I think, like, I've lived life. And also I don't, like, you put the professors on this pedestal. And so you're like, yes, 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 to everything the professor says. And you're doing all these things that you think they want to see. Rather than taking in what they're saying and synthesizing it, like you just said. Like I was such a big thing for me is like synthesis, you know, taking in the information, and then how do I take that information and how am I gonna put it back out? Which, you know, like what I was saying about the fine line is sometimes I can over synthesize things. And you know, I find myself doing that in the 1-1 work a lot, where because I like to know things. I'm such a like know-it-all, and I want to like conquer the thing and be good at the thing. And, you know, I take that information. I'm like, well, it's not ready to come out yet because I haven't quite figured out how to put it out yet. You know, or how to do
Yeah,
it.
I hear that, but what I would say to that, then how are you going to fail? You know,
Yeah.
the way to learn something is by going, I don't know this, so let's go. You know, and then you fail, and then you go, well, that taught me that. I never learned a goddamn thing by succeeding.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, when I first got to Rutgers, the first two plays I directed they were like a big sensation. People come up to me like, "Oh my God, that was great. That was great." And the second time that happened, I thought, I better fuck the next one up. I better find one that's like, I don't understand and it's hard to do. And I hope I drowned a little bit, you know? By the way, I did. It was horrible. It was a big disaster. But I learned more from doing that.
What play was it?
It was called The House Guests.
Hmm.
And it was written by Harry Condolian, a man who was dying of AIDS at the time he was finishing. He knew he was on a clock to finish this last play, and it was about love. I mean, that guy could have written about anything. Like he could have written some bitter stuff, but he calls it The House Guests because the metaphor is that we're all just house guests here on Earth. We're just renting God's house, you know, we're house guests. It's not ours. And while we're here, what kind of guest are you going to be? You know, it was a beautiful, beautiful, but it also was tricky in terms of tone. And, you know, there was a lot of stuff. So I caught what I caught, and parts of it also, the audience was basically left going, I loved half of that. And the other half, I am baffled by it and don't know, you know. I think that's a good success, by the way, if people are baffled by half of what you do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's
So,
a certain freedom in failing that I've kind of taken a liking to these days. Because honestly, like life just starts to feel very mundane, and like you're going through the motions. And, you know, and my career has started to feel that way too. It started to feel like I'm going to a job. Like I'm going in, clocking in another day at the office.
oh boy.
It's those failures. It's when things don't go right. It's when you learn, and then that's when it low key starts to get a little more exciting because you have something to figure out, something to conquer, something to like. You never want to feel like you figured it all out. Especially I do never in my work. I never want to feel like I have it all figured out, because then what am I doing? Like my work is an exploration, and you don't need to, if you already know it, you don't need to explore anything.
Absolutely. What, you just start. Just today, a guy told me that he heard Denzel Washington say, the second I know what I'm doing, then I might as well just stop because the day's over. It's like, I know what's going to happen later in the day. It's like, but you don't. But if you feel like you do, then that is the day. You got to the end of the day in the morning. You didn't even live through the day,
Hmm.
you know? I thought that was really solid. Um,
Yeah.
live in this moment. And by the end of the day, you may be like, huh, there's the outcome.
Yep. Yep.
Um, well, listen, what you also just said, Petey, speaks to you in the 1-1 project. The 1-1 project is a very singular thing that we do. It's like a theater company that doesn't do theater. I mean, we do theater, but we don't do plays. It's very theatrical what we're doing, but it's not a play. But you came once to visit us, and I just think of you as a working actor. And I so wanted to ask you if you wanted to join the company. But then I thought, how could he possibly? He's working or whatever. But when I asked you, you were like, yes. Like
Absolutely.
you'd rather be in that kind of wacky fucking world for a couple of hours on a Sunday
Yep.
with no concern for product or polished, whatever. You just lit up when I asked you.
Mhm. You never realize how important it is, how much you miss it, honestly, until you don't have it anymore. And I realized that with my training, like I wish that I was more present during, my time at Rutgers. And I had a bunch of stuff going on even during my time at Rutgers. I dealt with a bunch of deaths in my family, my little brother, my a bunch of family members, and a bunch of friends, close friends, and just dealing with, I had my kids, and all the different life things. And I feel like I missed out on a bunch, and I took a lot of it for granted. And I I will always remember, I'll never forget that Christopher Cartmill told me, and I think it was after the death of my brother. Um, and I was sitting down with him, and he told me, he was like, I know things are hard, but don't miss it. And I remember that all the time now. That's anytime somebody asks me for advice, that's what I tell them. I'm like, don't miss it. Like, be present in the moments, because one day you'll look back on this and either you were there or you wasn't. Like,
That's right.
and I so, like, after we got out of school, I started thinking about all the things that I took for granted and all the things that just became second nature, because I was like, this is life now. I'm an actor, I'm in school. And, we did it for a while, like 3.5 years plus COVID, 4 years is a long time. So, like, that just became my lifestyle. And I took that for granted. Like, no, I train. Yes, I train. I'm around this group of people all the time. They get on my nerves sometimes. I love them. So,
Uh,
whatever, and then you go and you don't talk to those people for 5 years, and you start to miss that, and you start to miss having a company of people, and having and doing yoga in the morning, which I hated, getting up at 8, 9 a.m. to do yoga in the morning. But you start missing all that stuff, because it's like, my body's so achy these days. I wish I was still somebody was making me do yoga every morning.
yes.
So I'm trying to bring all that stuff back now, man. All the stuff I learned at Rutgers, I'm bringing a lot of it recently, especially recently. And when I moved back, that was why when you asked me, I was like, yes, please. Like, I was trying to find something like this. I was in Texas for 2 years in Dallas, feeling like I was going crazy, because me as an artist was like, I mean, I was on a show, and I was doing a bunch of like club and party hostings and stuff that I did not care to do, but I was like, yo, I'm a starving artist, and they're paying me money to come and sit at a club. So yeah, sure, I'll do it. But it started feeling really draining, and I started feeling like a product. And as an artist, I felt like I wasn't doing much for my artistry. So that was the biggest reason I had to move back to the East Coast, because, as they say in Hamilton, I wanted to be in the room where it happens, or the place where it happens. And I knew I would be around more creatives here. I'd be in certain circles and situations where I could thrive artistically. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as I got back, I started doing 1-1. I just produced this film, my first feature film that I produced and am leading. And it all came from moving back up here and being around people and like getting that juice back flowing. And, so.
Well, that's a deep breath and a leap to leave uh, Texas, where you were relatively secure in terms of a paycheck and all this stuff, and then you go, I'm going to go, and I don't have where I'm headed. I don't have, but when I get there, I'll either make it or I'll be recognized or something. Can you talk a little bit about the film that you did it in Philly, right? You were in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were producing it. You're acting in it though as well, right?
Yeah. So I'm the lead in it and I'm producing it. One of the lead producers. There's three of us. And one is the writer director. So basically the way it happened is I have this friend, his name is Tariq Miller. He wrote the film and directed the film. We've been when I did You Shoot videos, which was 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. He like randomly messaged me saying how much of a fan he was, and he was a writer director, and like he wanted to work with me. And I was like, yeah, bro, let's work. And like for the past 7 years, we've been trying to get a project together, and we keep getting very close, and then it just not happening. But then when I moved back, because he lives up here, he's from Newark. And when I got back this time, he's like, yo, I got something that you would be perfect for. And I'm like, yo, bro, I'm back on the East Coast. Let's make it happen. And he was like, yeah, I just need to find funding for it. And it just so happened to be that I was in the process of working on a TV show that I was also producing, that I was going to produce or I'll just say it. I was wondering if I should say it or not, but it was for Kenny Rock, who is Chris Rock's younger brother. I was working on producing a TV show for him that was loosely based on his life. But I was the lead producer on that. I was doing everything, like making it happen. I got a writer, a couple writers, built a team to start this TV show. We were going to film it in Kansas City because of all the tax incentives. But writing and producing a TV show takes a lot of work, is what I learned. And so we were kind of losing momentum with that project, but Al kind of hit me up at the perfect time because I was like, yo, I got a guy who I'm working with who's funding this TV show, which was Kenny Rock's manager, which is how all that was even happening. Because he approached me. Kenny Rock wasn't even the one that approached me. His manager approached me and was like, yo, big fan of yours. Can you help me make this TV show? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. But I just happened to be like, yeah, I know a guy who's financing this TV show. Let me see if he would rather finance this film. It'll be a lot cheaper. We're going to need I think we budgeted like 400K starting off just to film the first like 6 or 7 episodes of the TV show. Because we were going to get the rest back in tax incentives and all that, because we needed like close to $1 million basically. So I was like, 40,000 would be a lot cheaper than 400,000,
Yeah.
which is how I approached him. And it helped that the director, writer, Tariq, he had just came off of a crazy festival run. He had a film that was in Miami when we were there. His film, the same award that I won the previous year, the Black and Unlimited Award for like Black fatherhood. And he like won. I think he was in like 20 something festivals and won like 17 of them. So yeah, he was doing really well. And so it was easy when I told Rich that. Rich is the guy who's financing it. He was like, yeah, let's do it. And so us three came together and we made the movie happen. And it's a beautiful thing. It's set in Philly. Philly is a backdrop because it's a neo soul love story. So it's based a lot in neo soul music and culture from the 90s and Philly as the backdrop. And it's about this couple who kind of falls in love throughout the course of the day. They're both artists, so they're both like starving artists, and they fall in love and they kind of lose each other, and they spend all this time trying to get back to each other.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
A lot of my industry contacts are in it. Like Leroyce Hawkins, who's like one of the leads on Chicago P.D. He came through to do it, and then Chris Lofton, who is one of the leads on Power, on one of the other Power shows, like he came through, and like we got a bunch of these like big celebrities who just kind of came through to show love, and so I cashed in all my favors, and we made the thing happen. It was a task. It's been very stressful, but
Yeah, but those favors will come back to you somehow.
yeah.
Like you reach out that way and then they reach out this way. I just love I really want our listeners to hear that you made that happen and that you kept rolling, and something can go from one thing to another. And you go, I didn't set out to do this, I set out to do that, but now I'm over here doing this. And that you produced it. You're like a major hyphenate. I mean, the stuff that you do, producing and what's funny is like you're a tremendous rapper. I think people could probably see videos of that too.
Yeah.
And it's not the main thing. Like we're here talking about acting. I remember when we did a film called Duende, PD and I, a short film, and PD played a rapper. But in the story, he needed to be the Salieri to this young rapper's Mozart. So PD needed to be kind of a bad rapper, like not bad, but not as good as this other genius. So I was like, how are we going to pull that off? That PD looks like he's not good. So I said to him, you got to write me a kind of a cliche, like a rap song that's not that good. The song is fucking great. I'm like, Petey, how are we going to believe that other guy's better than you when your song is, people were loving that song. I'm like, that's not supposed to be. It's like he was incapable of writing a bad.
I tried. I was like, I'm gonna try and make it as cliche as I can. I'll make it all big booty girls and money and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And it's still, people were still like, oh.
Yeah, people are like, this is really catchy. I'm like, he's not supposed to be the good one. So, but we had so much fun doing that. I think you know what, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was that you are a dresser. Like clothes, you wear clothes really, really well. You have style. Is it important? Are you somebody that's just dresses and it's good, or do you think about it, or it's important to you? I mean, I know clothes minded. You speak in that short film about the clothes that you wear and why you wear them, but also just in general. Like I've never seen you, even when you come to the 1-1 project rehearsal. By the way, we're all just dressed in black because we're trying to be as neutral as possible. Even the pants you wear that are black pants, they got a kind of flair to them. I'm like, this guy, he loves clothes.
I mean, aesthetic is everything, Kevin. Aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I think why Closed-Minded was so important to me to make. It was just a little project that me and Maxime decided, like, yo, we're gonna make something because it was something so real to me, because I did learn my aesthetic and all about dressing and clothes and the way I look. I got so into that based off of kind of what that short was saying. Like, I started it off as it was a way to hide and a way to protect myself. And it was a way to be, I didn't have to say anything, because I could just, if I just look good, it can get me into certain rooms. It can get me attention with certain girls. It can get me, I learned that like the way I look before I say anything can get me so many things in life. Like, cause if, and I used to have, I think, I used to have self-esteem issues a lot back in the day too. So I would just cover it up by, well, if I dress well, then nobody will say anything about how big my teeth are, or ever, because I look good. I look like money. That I look like money. And then I think it evolved to where I didn't care about that at all anymore, but it just was a part of me where I'm like, well, I want to look good because people know me for looking good, and I love the way people light up when I walk into a room and they're like, yo, look at what you have. And I'm like, I started loving that feeling. And it makes me feel good that I'm making other people feel good by seeing what I have on. And then I got really into clothes. Like I just like to wear. Now I just like, at one point in time, I was just wearing the weirdest stuff I can just to see if people will still love it, and they still do. And then,
Yeah, I don't think of it as weird. I think it's striking.
Yeah.
It is striking.
And now I just, I wear what I think is nice. Now I'm getting to an age where I wear things now, more so now because they're comfortable. I went through so many phases with clothes, and the reason I wore I had a designer phase where like I was wearing like $1,200 pants and all this stuff. And I would never do that again. That's it. Like just as a status symbol, and now I'm like, I just want to be comfortable and I want to look good while being comfortable.
Yeah.
I remember first year at Rutgers, I used to come to school every day with like a bow tie and like, dressed down in like my flats or some kind of plaid pants and like some nice sneakers or not, or even like, Kelsey boots, dress shoes. And then by like the middle of first year, I was like wearing sweatpants every day.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't come to
And that I
can't come to our
change
classes.
from all blacks and then change
Yeah.
back to that.
Yeah. No.
And I just
No, we're gonna spontaneously be rolling around on the floor at some point. You can't really be dressed that nice.
exactly. And then I
Yeah.
aesthetic, but even that became my aesthetic for so long. Like I was wearing like sweatpants and I'd wear these sweatsuits and split pants in a way that was like super fashionable, like with my pea coat and my sneakers and like that
Yeah.
aesthetic because it was practical for what I was doing.
Yeah. I want we should wrap up. I want people to be able to see your stuff. Like, should they go to your website or can they go on YouTube or whatever? Like,
Yeah,
you got a lot of.
in the process of redoing my website right now. I was also doing that, got on today. So there are a lot of some of my newish games that are on there, that are on the website now. But yeah, most of it I like Skin Deep, and You Speak videos, Closed Minded. Those three, which are three of my favorite projects, are all on. If you Google them, then
I'll put them in the link I'll put the link in the description of this episode. So it'll be there when you're listening to this.
those Power, it's on Stars if you are really that interested in watching that. But I'm in the third and fourth season, the final season.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, you could watch it just for me, but you probably want to go back and watch all the episodes, and it is a lot if you haven't watched any of it, because my show is a continuation of the original show, which ran.
Oh, that's right. Book 2.
Yeah.
So we got to go back all the way back and watch the whole first
You don't
season.
have to. You don't have to. But if you really want all the context, then
Of course.
6 seasons of that, and then I come in on the third season, which is
Yeah.
like season 9.
Yeah. Of the larger.
Because of a bunch of spinoffs, but my spinoff is the only one that's kind of not really. It's really just a continuation of the main story. It's just that the main character, his son, becomes the main character.
Well, my friend, thank you so much.
Thank you, Petey.
Really great to have you. We were trying to get Petey for quite a while, but he works.
Yeah.
I'm
I
glad.
can't. I'm in Philly. I can't. But I'm like, keep working, man, and we'll find it. So we finally got you here, which is so great.
Yeah, and I'm excited about the work that we about to do. With these
Oh man,
shows. I can't. Well, we'll talk about that later after we get out.
I keep promising this. We will have an episode where we talk about what we do in the 1-1 project.
Yeah. Season 3.
It's foundational to Meisner, but we take it and strip it down and use it in a different way. But anybody who studied Meisner would understand what we're doing, but it's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm more excited for that work than a lot of the other work that I'm doing. Like I can't wait to really dive into the 1-1. I wish
Crazy
4 times a week. I wish I can get more of a, but I know we're only getting started, and it's about to grow like crazy.
Yep. We are about to grow. That is true. Do you have anything, Carson, before we take off?
No, I think that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Coming
Thanks,
on.
Petey.
Y'all for
Sharing
having me.
all of that.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next time.
All right.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Meisner Podcast.